Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with our marketing partners, we're here to help our PM Marketing Network Lead customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingles.
Hello, everyone. This is Peter Mingles, and you are listening to Building Fortunes Radio on www.buildingfortunesradio.com. For those people unfamiliar with my voice, it's Peter Mingles, and we are going to have a regular show at this time for those people that are listening in live, which is Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, with a great friend of ours. His name is George Vincent. And George and I met several months ago, I think it was, when we started talking. We had similar mindsets but slightly different backgrounds. So what I mean by that is similar mindsets, wanting to help people, doing the things that we needed to effectively build an economy and a home-based business, using the internet and things like that. But where it's diversified a little bit is George is on the techie side, so he's very familiar with programming and things along that line. And to which I say, hey, listen, that's really great. I don't know a lot about programming, so you're going to be able to bring that mindset, because you've been doing it for so long, to this Building Fortunes radio arena. So we're going to be able to kind of enlighten different people from different ways. So I am always super pleased to be able to talk to George Vincent, because he explains a lot of things about the coding world that I didn't necessarily know. And he's going to share some information as special segments on Building Fortunes Radio on his show, so you'll be able to kind of get the grasp as well. So if you go to buildingfortunesradio.com, go search by show name for George Vincent, and then he's also going to post a lot of this stuff on the Humongous blog. So if you go to humongousblog.com/George Vincent, you'll be able to see some of this material over there as well. And of course, he's adding to the technology aspect of the things that we do too. So he's really good at making movies, and he's good at kind of showing people how to maximize their exposure by making movies like our radio show into a movie so people can post it to YouTube and share it all over the place. So he's going to be found on iTunes, and we're on Stitcher, and we're on Building Fortunes Radio, and we're all over the place. So make sure you keep an eye out for George Vincent and these special techie-type segments. So, George, thanks for being here.
Awesome. Good morning or good afternoon, Peter. Thanks for having me. On my show.
I am super excited to be able to have you here. But I got to just I was thinking about this just a couple of seconds ago as I was thinking about you. So here you are, a gentleman who's a coder, and you're in your early 60s, and we're looking for, reinventing yourself, and we're doing some stuff with the marketing and things like that. And I said, you think about this stuff. Coders, you have a ton of information. You have many years, maybe even a couple of decades of coding. But it's almost as if a coder is a little bit like a supermodel. Like, they're really hot when they're younger. And even though they're just as good and probably smarter, you know what I mean? And they're worth so much more, just like a supermodel, there's an expiration date, if you will, and that sometimes happens in the workforce. So if I had a choice as an employer, it's going to sound like age discrimination, of pulling a coder with all your vast experience, but you're at 61, versus pulling the experiences coming in with a new guy who's learned all this new stuff and is kind of probably a little bit cooler and understands Snapchat and Instagram and all that other sort of stuff, Facebook stuff. I might choose the younger one, having nothing to do with age discrimination, but everything with age discrimination, if you know what I mean. So that's the world, I'm guessing, that sometimes coders face. You're worth it. You deserve a commanding paycheck, but there's probably a lot of young bucks that can be faster than you and quicker than you and whatever than you, and that's what I am finding also in my age. I just can't keep up with the young guys anymore at the same level that I used to when I was one of those young guys. So I'll let you comment on whatever I'm going to mention, because we're going to kind of blend some of that into what we want to talk about today, automation and offshoring. So over to you.
Okay, yeah. And, actually that's true. I've been doing this for probably about 20 years, and I've got a ton of experience in it. But over the years, obviously, as I learn more and I keep adding value to myself, it costs more to hire me. And I started noticing some years ago that basically, a company would hire me in, let's say Wells Fargo, or, I work for some pretty good companies, GE Capital. They would hire me in full time, but for one big project. And that project would usually take about a year or so to develop. And then after that year, they didn't have anything else. So now they're starting to kind of look at me, trying to figure out, okay, now why are we paying this guy so much money? And that started happening over and over and over again. And to where I kind of got to the point where I'm like, well, I think I better start sewing together a parachute for myself because, the handwriting was kind of on the wall. And like you say, they get these young guys in there that know all the new stuff, all the social media. Well, I didn't grow up in that era, but they did, and they're cheaper. So, there you have it. But luckily, you and I crossed paths, and we hit it off, and I'm still a happy camper.
There we go. So we're going to blend this part of the conversation. I figured I wanted to compliment you at least by telling you a little bit earlier you were probably like a supermodel. You know what I mean?
yeah, you saved yourself on that one.
Yep. So instead of calling us like old farts, you know what I mean? Old farts with old technology.
Right.
So
exactly.
But let's blend that into what you wanted to talk about during this series. So you wanted to talk about automation, you wanted to talk about offshoring, and a lot of this stuff has to do with, the news coming in, and it's kind of moving really fast. So projects that might have taken a year or two are now being designed like within our sleep. So go over that sort of stuff with us, please.
Okay, sure. A couple of days ago, I read an article in The Guardian titled Driverless Trucks. Economic tsunami may swallow one of the most common U.S. jobs. And so here we go. In April 2016, Uber announced the acquisition of Otto. And Otto is a small San Francisco-based startup that developed a kit that can turn any big rig into a self-driving truck. And it's not just Otto. I mean, massive automated vehicles already move materials for, the Australian mining industry. And then you have Daimler. You remember Daimler Chrysler, a German multinational company, has its own model. They've got this giant 18-wheeler that drives itself. Now, write this down. And if you don't remember anything else, remember this: offshoring and automation. This is going to be very, very critical right now. So as of 2015, a typical production worker in the U.S. earned about 9% less than the comparable worker in 1973. Now, over the same 42 years, the American economy grew by more than 200%, or a staggering $11 trillion, and that's trillion with a T. That's astounding. And let me say this a different way, because it's important that you get this. Over the 42-year period between 1973 and 2015, the American economy grew by more than 200%, or $11 trillion. Yet a typical production worker earned about 9% less. So now here's the newsflash for you. This isn't, a Trump versus Obama thing. Those are just distractions to kind of get you to ignore the danger that's creeping up on you. Now, for millions of average Americans, you have a reasonable expectation of, a steady job, home ownership. You buy your house with a white picket fence, and you send your kids off to college. Well, all that's degraded into decades of stagnation, and even you're constantly being bombarded by news of the overall growth of the U.S. economy. And, it's everywhere. We're growing. You were getting that for 8 years under Obama. Now you have Trump saying the same thing. We're growing. But the American worker is making less and less and less money. So that's kind of the start of this and where we're at right now.
Right, so unless you have a way to increase your income or maybe add levels of security, you're probably only one day closer to when there's going to be a real big challenge. So
Exactly.
I think that's pretty fair. Now, when you talk about driverless trucks, part of our belief systems when we're coming into that part of the conversation, we think that's not possible. We've all seen 18-wheelers traveling, 70 or 100 miles an hour down the highway, depending on where you are. How in the world could anything like that drive itself with all the other variables and all the challenges, with people coming in and out, and lights and roads and construction and potholes and things along that line. And your belief system is such where that just can't happen. But how is that possible? How is that really possible now? And then also, how is it possible to actually replace a lot of human beings where now they're going to be looking for work, where usually that was something that was relatively secure? So first of all, let's talk about the technology. Is that even possible?
Well, it's not only possible, it's actually pretty easy. And here's the thing about technology. You have to keep a close eye on it, and you have to think long term as you're looking at this stuff. And this is kind of what helped me to be successful as a programmer. I would always watch business trends so that I can know in advance what skills I need to develop to be more marketable in the future. So let's go way back with was it Google Earth? Remember they had the car going around, they had the cameras on the top, and Google set out and they pretty much mapped every road in the entire world, on the entire planet. That happened, over a period of, maybe 10 years. Well, now, if you got an Android phone, that's your GPS. I never get lost driving, ever, because I just tell my GPS where I want to go, and the map shows up, and then I just drive the car. So that was happening, and then.
So let me just stop you. Let me just stop you there, because I'm going to mention an observation, and then I'll let you expand upon that. I remember when this whole thing happened with GPS, and Bill Clinton kind of opened up the idea that the satellites and all that sort of stuff for the global positioning. I said, wow, this is really kind of cool. And then when Google did that thing, with mapping all the different streets, I said, wow, this is kind of neat. And if I wanted to go see my house that I grew up in New York, I'd be able to do that. And then I'd be able to drive down the street and see my friend's house, where we used to hang out. And it was kind of neat. It was almost like going home without the plane flight. But then one day, I decided that I was going to try to drive. Like, was there like a steering wheel that I could actually drive instead of using my mouse? And I don't know what I did. So I can't tell you what I did. But then because I really suck at this, I started going over a field, into an area that was undeveloped. And I said, how is this happening? Like, there's no car with a camera possible. So I was going over mountain ranges, or I was going over big swamps, like the Everglades, like where there's obviously never any kind of a Google driver car, and that's when it kind of blew me away that they probably now did this by satellite. So that's the massive jump. The only reason why I mention this, they started off with an idea, kind of tested it, and then there was a massive jump, massive. So now you can go across the ocean, you can look at different islands, you can do all this sort of stuff. So that's the concept of the technology jump. So then I think about that, and I'll let you blend that into whatever you want to blend to relative to a driverless car. I'm sure there was probably some kind of a car that had a couple of sensors on it that was able to kind of do certain things, and they probably have these things so sensored out that it literally can be driving a car, I hate to say it, well, I shouldn't say hate to say it, probably better than most humans.
Yeah.
Actually, a monkey could drive a car better than most humans, but relative to the safety, the safety of it. Well, let's do this. Let's take a little commercial break. It was a little bit right after our halfway point. We're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back with George Vincent. We're talking about automation. We're talking about offshoring, and we're going to be right back.
Thanks for listening to Building Fortunes Radio. If you sell a product or service, then you should check out PMMarketing's NetworkLeads.com. Just visit www.networkleads.com. For over 18 years, PM Marketing has helped distributors build their home-based businesses through lead generation, website development, automated email delivery systems, and sales training. If you're looking for a way to increase your skills and increase the number of people that see your product or opportunity, NetworkLeads.com can help. To learn more, visit www.networkleads.com. Ask about their lead management system, capture pages, personalized websites, MLM training, humongous blogs, the humongous classified ad network, Building Fortunes Radio, or their webinar schedule. NetworkLeads.com can be your one-stop shop for everything you need. And now, back to our show.
And we are back. Peter Mingles here with George Vincent. We're on the George Vincent Radio Show. Go to buildingfortunesradio.com. Do a search by show name. Look for George Vincent. You'll be able to hear more stuff there. You'll also be able to see more contact information for where he's posting his blogs, where he has his websites. And if you're looking for a home-based business and you are saying to yourself, I want to be part of this whole thing, make sure you check out George Vincent so you too can be working with us on Building Fortunes Radio or with Building Fortunes, our affiliate program, and everything else that George Vincent is working. So, George, backing over to you.
All right, awesome. So what we're talking about right before the break is this whole Google Earth thing. And, you use the example of, you're kind of driving and all of a sudden you find yourself in the field and you're going over mountain ranges where a car couldn't possibly have gone. And, it's all about satellite. If you think about what enabled humanity to travel the seas safely, because for a long time everybody thought the earth was flat, right? And you go out too far and you drop off the edge. Well, it was the map. These sailors would sail, and you had explorers on land. Everybody's mapping everything out to where we understood the world better. For sure, we figured it out that it wasn't flat. So that was one part of it. And now you have driverless cars. And this is so cool that, look at cars now. If something's coming, you get ready to turn to a lane, and a car's coming, the light flashes and might beep at you, hey, and then you look and boom, and a car, darts by you. Your car can brake for you. You get distracted while you're driving, and all of a sudden your car stops because the car in front of you stops. And all that is just all automation. Your cars now can park for you, right? If you don't know how to parallel park, well, then just buy a new car and drive up to the space and let it park for you, right? This is all automation. So now what Google or the driverless car thing, what's been happening, I think there's a couple states where it's actually legal to put driverless cars on the road. And that's just a matter of perfecting the technology. So you already have cars on the road right now that are totally autonomous. They drive themselves. They don't need human intervention. And so it's coming. And the cool thing's going to be, like Uber, you know, instead of having to buy a car, you just call up, you know, hey, I need a car for, you know, whatever, for the evening, or I need a car for the whole day. And the car, where I see it, you know, comes out to your house and parks, and you just jump in and you just chauffeured around, and that's going to be the coolest thing. And everybody's going to jump on it because of the novelty, and that's how this stuff starts creeping up on you. There's a wise saying, every now and then you need to turn around and look behind you to kind of see what's making your booty hurt.
I don't know who says that. But I'm going to credit with you because that's the first time I've heard that. I'll brand that as a George Vincent Natural quote.
Well, I mean, it is so true. You know, this technology, like I said, is going to be so cool. The accident rates and the highway deaths are going to go way down. You know, the insurance rates should plummet, or maybe they'll go up way high to discourage you from buying a car. But all of this stuff, you know, the road rage is going to go down because now, hey, just call a car. You know what I mean? And you just chauffeured around. How cool is that going to be? Well, all of that is going to be taking place over a period of years and perfecting the technology so that when they're ready to make the jump to driverless trucks, this whole thing has all been worked out, all the kinks and all the bugs are out. Now it's safe to put driverless trucks on the road, and that's when truck drivers are going to find themselves out of work. And that's the part that you got to keep your eyes on. So write this down. If you don't remember anything else, remember this: offshoring and automation. We're going to be talking about this a lot. What do you think, Peter?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity on a plus side, and then I also worry a little bit on the other side because we're in the transition. Like, these things haven't been perfected yet. So here are some of the plus sides of this. You mentioned the plus sides, probably better fuel economy, probably safer roads after they perfect it. You know, computers don't fall asleep, they don't swerve, they don't get distracted, they just kind of do their job. So all of that sort of stuff, I think, is on the plus side. As the automation becomes more advanced, the costs will go down, so there'll probably be even more. So on the technology side, it all sounds really great. On the human element side, there's a couple of issues. I still drive my 1998 Jeep Wrangler. When I came down to Florida and I eventually had to buy a new car, I bought a 1998 Jeep Wrangler. And that Jeep Wrangler doesn't have any computers in it that could be hacked or could go down, if you know what I mean. I can't do all the maintenance myself, but the maintenance is a lot easier. Now, my daughter has a Nissan Cube, and when she was having a problem with her, she was having a problem with it. It had nothing to do with anything physically wrong. It wasn't the brakes physically wrong. It was something in the computer system. And this guy who was fixing the car was basically telling me, are you almost ready to trade it in? Because the software diagnostics, trying to find the problem, was massive. And I'm talking about, wait a minute, this thing is still a brand new car, and you're telling me like I should be thinking about trading it in because it's going to be thousands of dollars if it's a computer harness? And then, God forbid, if there's also something physical as well, I'm throwing away the car. So I'm like, oh, my God, look at the cost factor of repairs. So also working with programmers, I mean, let's face it, technology works most of the time, but it doesn't work some of the time. And when it doesn't work, it stops you. So everybody knows that if they've ever had their cable connection go down or maybe their hard drive go down or whatever, you get a virus or a crash. So there's always those issues, too, because I think there's one group of people that are programming this great technical advancement, And then there's another thing that's programming the demise of this great technical advancement. So it's kind of like, when it works, it's wonderful, but when it doesn't, it's devastating. And I'm afraid of that, Vince. But I do know that for those people that have truck drivers, it's not like the company's going to be able to call that truck driver back that they just like laid off or fired and say, "Can you drive this driverless truck?" The answer is no, I can't. It's gone, and it's gone forever. So I'll let you take what I just said and kind of blend it together.
Okay. Well, let me start with this right here. Right now, this is the time that you have to take your destiny into your own hands and create a stable future for you and your family. And we can help with this. But you have to think long term. Now, here's the thing. A lot of this technology already exists, and it's something that we don't think about. Every time you get on an airline or jet, you're flying here and there, basically the majority of the flight is handled by a computer, right? The pilot takes off and the pilot lands. But the rest of the flight, unless there's a storm or something, the pilot, the jet is put on autopilot. And the pilot sits back with the navigator, and they just kind of monitor things and make sure there's no engine fires and stuff like that. But this has been happening for years and years and years. Pilots don't fly the whole flight. And so it's going to be the same thing, with the driverless truck. Think about it. You have this truck, the whole long haul, across the highway, wherever it's going, all those hours, the truck is just driving itself. And then it comes to, let's say, a local station where these trucks have to come in, and then you get the pilot to jump in the truck and drive through the city to its destination. So I think that's going to be the next thing. Kids are going to be going to college to figure out and get their degrees so that they can just drive this last few miles of these driverless trucks. That's my prediction. And honestly, you could take it to the bank. It's coming. So let's get ready for that right now. Don't wait, 10 years, and then all of a sudden you're in crisis. Stop,
right.
Stop,
so if you're a human being, going to truck driving school probably is not necessarily the best career choice.
No, that's a horrible career choice. And unfortunately, somebody's going to have to drive the truck until the perfection of these automated systems. Let me give you this real quick little thing that got me started as a programmer. I was a machinist, and I was working in a machine shop and cutting the metal and all that stuff on the lathes and all that. That's what I used to do. And our time system went down. Now, the time, you clock in and clock out and go to lunch and all that stuff. Well, that system was all on the computer, and they called a programmer, from the company that issued this time system to them. They called the company, and they put the programmer on the phone, and the programmer talked them through how to reset this software. And he stayed on the phone, it's probably like a half hour to 40 minutes, and our company got charged $240 to talk over the phone with this programmer. He didn't even come out. And by the next week, I was enrolled in school as a computer programmer.
Right.
And that's a true story. That's how it happened. I'm like, man, I'm slaving over this machine, and this guy's just going to talk on the phone for half an hour and make $240. Man, I'm in the wrong profession. And, and at that time, that's when they were coming out with they call them the CNC machines, the computerized machines to cut the metal to do my job. That's when that was just coming out. So I had a choice. I could either go to school and learn how to operate the computerized machine, or I can go to school and learn how to write the code that the machines have to use. So that's what I did. I went to school and learned how to program.
Well, amazing stories. Well, believe it or not, we're out of time. So for those people listening in, my name is Peter Mingles. You just heard from George Vincent, and we are on the George Vincent Radio Show. We're going to continue this segment on offshoring and automation. We talked about driverless trucks and related topics on this one, and we're going to be back next week. So for everybody listening in, George, thanks for being here. Great information, and we will catch you next time. Good day, everyone. Bye for now.
Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check us out every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for the designated Building Fortunes Radio segment with Peter Mingles. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website for our featured segments. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. So spread the word, tell a friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world.